Exclusive contract from Feilu Novel Network Novel. Mu Yi. Full-level Uchiha, reincarnated from filthy soil, crossing the world of Hokage and becoming a member of Uchiha, relying on the Kaleidoscope's time-stop ability, becoming the strongest member of the Uchiha clan. Later, Chikizuma and Uchiha established Kiba, and the other four major powers followed suit. Eventually, the five major powers signed a ceasefire agreement. In the later period of the establishment of Nanamura, the other four major powers coveted the Nine Tails and secretly interfered, causing the Nine Tails to break the seal, and as a result, Uchiha Sho's sister died from her efforts. The war broke out, and with the help of Yuzhibo and Xiao himself, he dealt a heavy blow to Qianshou Zhujian, killed the other four major ninja villages, and annihilated the ninja coalition army recorded by the five great powers in tens of thousands. But he also died as a result of his efforts. Orochimaru invades Konoha, and Uchiha Shoujo is reincarnated from the filthy soil he once despised war and longed for peace in the realm of tolerance. Now he wants to unify the realm of tolerance and dominate everything with absolute power. Having an infinite chakra and a body that can automatically repair, you seem to be in big trouble. Yuzhibo looked down at Huoying, and Huoying Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Orochimaru Invades Kiba. Seeking Fresh Flowers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It seems that you haven't changed at all, Orochimaru. But you have become so weak, teacher monkey flying. In the war-torn village of Mai, at the center of the four purple flame formation, Orochimaru and Ape Flying Sun stand opposite each other. With a gentle breeze passing by, the figures of the two also began to move. I saw Sandai quickly running towards Orochimaru, and his hands began to quickly seal, ninja technique. Sword technique in tile hand. As chakra moved, the tiles on the roof floated one after another, flying towards Orochimaru like bullets. "It's so naive," said Orochimaru as he grinned and stamped his seal. Then he flew into mid-air, avoiding the tiles while opening his mouth. The next second, his tongue turned into a giant python and headed straight towards the neck of the third generation to bite. 3 generations saw the move and dismantled it, using the earth escape stunt to evade the attack of Orochimaru. Later, they also took the opportunity to bomb Orochimaru's escape technique, but Orochimaru did not have the strength to fight back for a while. "I am truly a third-generation adult, and at this age, I can still use such ninjutsu." Well, as expected, the third generation of adult swords have not yet aged. The secret commentary team outside the battlefield began to praise, with a feeling of half-opening champagne. And within the arena, Orochimaru had also put aside his contemptuous heart early on, sighing inwardly that he truly deserved to be a ninja doctor. The gorgeous and solid 5-done ninja techniques also made him, as a 3 ninja, quite struggling. But this also made him understand that the current situation cannot be delayed any longer. With each move, the two of them unleashed their exquisite physical skills and magnificent ninjutsu, creating an indescribable force. As the battle heated up, Sandai's attack did not diminish at all. He swung a few swords in his hand towards Orochimaru, and then his hands began to quickly seal ninja technique. Sword shadow splitting technique in hand. The number of hand swords that were originally only a few increased exponentially in an instant, and soon became hundreds of hand swords. Faced with a sword in hand that was as dense as rain, Orochimaru showed no panic and pressed his hands down to perform a teleportation technique. Spiritual communication. The art of rebirth from the dirty earth. As Orochimaru slapped the ground, 2 coffins rose up one after another, accompanied by vibrations. 1. 2. The raised coffin withstood the attack of sword rain in his hand, and as he watched this scene, Sandai's expression quickly turned ugly. He naturally knew what kind of ninjutsu Orochimaru was using, so he also naturally knew how terrifying this technique was. Sandai's face turned pale, and he angrily shouted to Orochimaru, "How dare you use this technique? I won't be lenient just because you're old." Orochimaru looked at Sandai's face and started talking trash. During the conversation, the third generation looked at the markings on the coffin, which were written with the characters Chu and Heir respectively. Seeing this, although the third generation Hokage felt a lot of pressure, they still consciously could handle it, but the next actions of Orochimaru were not calm enough for the third generation. 3. As the characters jumped out of Orochimaru's mouth, the third coffin rose from the ground, and on this third coffin, there was a prominent Xiao character written. Not good. When he saw the coffin with the character Xiao, Sandai secretly thought something was wrong. With a clap of his hands, he wanted to guide chakra to suppress the coffin with the character Xiao. Chapter 2. Reincarnation of Dirt. Yuzhibo Xiao. Seeking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. However, perhaps due to old age and lack of strength, the third coffin finally broke free from the constraints of the third generation chakra and rose from the ground in an instant. Looking at the character Xiao, even with the mentality of an old hero riding on a beam, the three generations at this moment still showed a look of despair. Teacher Monkey Flying, you are finally old. Orochimaru looked at the three generations of heroes who were in their twilight years, with an inexplicable light in his eyes. 3 generations remained silent, staring intently at the 3 coffins that fell to the ground with a loud bang. When the dust cleared, 3 familiar figures came into view. First generation eyes, second generation eyes, then he fixed his gaze on the person who was finally teleported out. That is a handsome young man, dressed in black light armor, with Uchiha's fan engraved on the back of the armor. As Sandai looked at the young man's appearance, he thought to himself, surprisingly, it happened that he came out through spiritual communication. The young man stepped out of the coffin, and in an instant, a terrifying aura emanated from him. And among the dark side groups fishing outside, an elderly person also recognized the person who was finally teleported out at this moment. Orochimaru, this guy actually managed to get that person out. Although separated by the mask, the frightened tone could not be concealed. Who is that person? Several young subordinates questioned in their hearts. After a while, the older dark side finally spoke up, Yuzhibo Xiao. Yuzhibo Xiao. Several members of the secret forces searched their brains, but none of them remembered the character of Yuzhibo Xiao. It's normal that you don't know him because of this man's special nature, so the village has to hide his identity. So far, apart from researchers, few people in the village know about Yuzhibo Xiao. The young shadows put on a detailed posture, and the shadows let out a light sigh before saying, "Anyway, you'll have to know him sooner or later." As the words of the senior dark department slowly unfolded, the identity and deeds of Yuzhibo Xiao gradually surfaced. Yuzhibo Xiao, born in the late Warring States period, was the strongest figure in the history of the Yuzhibo clan. He was able to compete with Qian Shuzujien and Yuzhibo Ban. At that time, he also had a prestigious reputation. The most dangerous ninja in legend. Even the establishment of Kiba Ninja Village was inseparable from the participation of Uchiha Hiroshi, who even contributed a lot to the concept of the ninja village system. So strong a character, how did he die? The question was thrown out, but the senior in the dark department did not immediately answer. The quiet atmosphere gradually dissipated, and everyone, through their masks, felt an emotion from this senior, which was called fear. At this moment, the senior in the dark department spoke up. He killed the first generation of Wind Shadow, first generation of Thunder Shadow, first generation of Earth Shadow, first generation of Water Shadow, as well as tens of thousands of ninja allies. After severely damaging the first generation of Lord and Uchiha, exhausted to death. As the words finished speaking, a strange silence fell between the shadows. I can't believe it, can I? Conquer the entire ninja realm with one's own strength, and even inflict heavy damage on the legendary god of ninjas. Such achievements, even novels and storybooks wouldn't write like this. Although I dare not say it explicitly, several young members of the dark side have deep doubts. The older dark side did not refute anything upon seeing this scene, but continued to say. I couldn't believe it when I first heard it, but now that I see the expressions of 3 generations of adults. Everyone turned their gaze and saw the expression on the face of the 3rd generation, which was unprecedented caution and solemnity. That kind of expression, I didn't even see the 3rd generation of adults express it when the 4th generation of adults passed away and when Kiba was in the most critical moment. Turning his gaze back to the battlefield, Orochimaru stepped back with a sly smile, while the 3 deceased slowly walked out of the coffin. Long time no see, monkey. The 1st generation in red armor spoke up. The 2nd generation looked at the elderly face of the 3rd generation and couldn't help but sigh, you're also getting old, monkey flying. I have a heart to reminisce with both of you, but unfortunately. As he spoke, Ape Fei looked not far away. The 2 of them in the pillar room and the door room also followed their gaze, and their gaze fell on a 3rd person who had been teleported out. I saw the person with his head lowered, a glimmer of blood faintly visible between his eyes, and then a young voice emanated from him, the monkey flyer, kid. Lord Xiao. Looking at the handsome face of Yuzhibo Xiao, the 3rd generation couldn't help but fall into memories. Once upon a time, when I was young, I also looked at the back of Yuzhibo Xiao's neck and worked secretly towards his goal. Yuzhibo Xiao ignored the 3rd generation no longer. He lifted his head and directed his blood-red gaze towards the 2 brothers in the pillar. Goyu in his eyes began to rotate rapidly. Long time no see, the 2 brothers of the Qianshou family. Chapter 3. 1/5 of one's strength is so terrifying. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. At the first second he emerged from the coffin, Xiao was surprised, but he relied on his excellent intuition and intelligence-gathering ability. In less than 5 seconds, he inferred the situation to be complicated. Qianshou's kid, if I remember correctly, this is the secret technique you developed, right? Xiao spoke sarcastically. Yuzhibo Xiao. It's you. Fei Jian spoke, his voice filled with vigilance. If it weren't for the reason of the rebirth of the filth that the reincarnated person didn't have much expression, I'm afraid the expression would have gone out of control in the open. It's not his fault for such a loss of composure. Not to mention that the entire Qianshou clan lived under the shadow of Yuzhibo all along because of Xiao back then. And the premature death of Qianshou Zhujian is also closely related to Xiao Zhang's heavy injury. On the other hand, Zhujian was very sincere and greeted Xiao. Long time no see, Xiao Jun. Xiao glanced at the pillar and then looked around at the smoke-filled wooden leaves, saying, it seems that we are going to become comrades in arms who will destroy Kiba together. Fei Jian was very displeased with Xiao's satire and instantly replied, such rudeness is indeed the cold and thin nature of Yuzhibo. Xiao Pingsheng has always attached great importance to Yuzhibo. At this moment, when he heard the stereotypical words from Fei Jian, his killing intent instantly escalated. Zhao's masterpiece of writing will eyes with red light spread a murderous aura, yeah, I don't mind slaughtering the 1,000-handed clan. At this moment of tension, Orochimaru came out to strike a circle. Alright, that's all for the old gentleman nostalgia. He took out 2 cursed Kuwu, disregarding the murderous gaze of the 2nd generation, and put Kuwu into the minds of the 2 brothers in Qianshou. The next second, the 2 brothers of Qianshou were wiped out of their willpower, and their eyes became lifeless like corpses. Xiao looked at this scene and his eyes suddenly changed, with a murderous aura piercing towards Orochimaru like a sharp edge. Feeling Zhao's dangerous aura, the 3rd generation spoke to Orochimaru and said, it's already a big mistake for you to play with the deceased, why do you still have to teleport such a dangerous character? Teacher Monkey Flying, you're really old and confused. This is war. I don't need you to agree with anyone who can telepathize, right? Orochimaru said while teasing and washing his face with his tongue. Xiao looked at Orochimaru, who gave him a sly smile twice. Don't look at me like that, Yuzhibo's top expert. Xiao's tone was very aloof. How could you have the confidence to control me with such weak strength? The arrogant tone did not anger Orochimaru, who calmly replied, nature is the confidence that countless studies and experiments have given me. Speaking, picking up the talisman, Kowu penetrated deep into Xiao's brain. At this moment, Orochimaru realized something was wrong because he realized that he could indeed control Xiao, but the degree of control was very limited. At this moment, Xiao turned his head and his eyes were incredibly clear. He said, it seems that the research and experiments that you have revered as the standard are not so powerful. Shimaru's face turned ugly. Although he knew Xiao's strength was very strong, he didn't expect it to be so strong that even the first generation of Huoying could only be obediently controlled by him. But this Yuzhibo Xiao can still break free from a part. Although I can't make you shut up, you still have to listen to me obediently. As she spoke, Orochimaru's thoughts moved, and Xiao's body was directly controlled by Orochimaru. This action also made Xiao unhappy. Orochimaru did not let Xiao take action, but instead let the first generation, the second generation, Hokage, come forward to fight against the third generation. The battle quickly began, and the drawbacks of the rebirth of filth immediately became apparent. Due to the drawbacks of being reborn from the filthy soil, the first and second generations were not able to fully exert their abilities, so facing the attacks of the two Hokage, the third generation was still able to barely withstand them. Watching this scene, Orochimaru smiled grimly and waved his hand, saying, "Go ahead, the pride of the Uchiha clan." As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao took action in an instant, and his hand simply made 2 marks, fire escape. The art of Heiau Wokyu. This is a basic fire escape ninjutsu, but under Xiao's initiation, not only did the seal shorten, but its power was also very high. I saw a massive fireball instantly form and then hit the third generation like a high-speed missile. How could it be? It's just a basic fireball, how could it have such a scale and speed? The dark outside was stunned, and even with such a fireball, they might not be able to resist it. The power of the bare fireball is remarkable, and the third generation dare not neglect it. Their hands quickly form a seal, water escape. Water formation wall. Although the third generation can also create water out of thin air, it is still far from the realm of the second generation Hokage. The small water wall facing this wave of giant fireballs is like a mantis arm riding a chariot. With the collision of fire and water, a hot steam immediately evaporates. As the steam dissipated, the third generation, who had been scalded by high temperatures and had many wounds, emerged. Teacher Yuanfei, you're really in a mess. Orochimaru exclaimed at Xiao's strength while feeling proud. The technique of rebirth in the filthy soil can only unleash 1/5 of the reincarnated person's strength. I didn't expect that even like this, you can't resist it. Orochimaru's words did not deliberately lower the volume, and the darkness outside was also shocked when they heard these words. Surprisingly, it's only 1/5. What if it's 100%? It's really hard to imagine. At this moment, Xiao also secretly felt his own strength upon hearing Orochimaru's words. No wonder he felt like he had a shackle on his body, locking most of his strength. Originally bound by this technique, thinking about it, his Sharingan eyes began to spin rapidly, and his chakra body began to boil uncontrollably. The battle continued, and Orochimaru did not notice anything unusual about Xiao. He was enjoying watching his former mentor being crushed. 3 generations saw how powerful Xiao's ninjutsu was, and he quickly stepped forward, wanting to use his physical skills to win. Xiao Fei's body spun, and the armor plates on his body collided and made a crisp sound. He hit a flying foot and hit the chest of the third generation straight. Bang! The next second, the third generation flew backwards like a kite with a broken string, and then slammed it hard onto the ground, splashing tiles in all directions. However, when the dust cleared, everyone could see clearly that there was only a clay figure lying there. A good trick. Xiao smiled and his long-dormant fighting spirit slightly increased. And the figure of the third generation appeared in the distance at some unknown time. I saw his hands quickly imprinting, beads of sweat as big as beans covering his face. Tuduan. Yue transformation. The next second, the tiles on the ground began to collapse, and the entire roof undulated up and down like an earthquake, and this was not over yet. The seal in the hands of the third generation was not over yet. Too done. Too long done. The roofs that had already ruptured protruded one after another with earth guns. Such a large dot-scale escape technique directly concealed the figures of the first and second generations, while Xiao still stood in the center of the battlefield with his excellent skills. Outside the battlefield, the dark forces watching the battle were all amazed. They were amazed that the third generation could still use such a large dot-scale ninjutsu in such a situation, and were also horrified by Xiao's strength. They could still survive such a large dot-scale attack. At this moment, a figure appeared next to the dark forces. Who? The secret forces were all vigilant, but when they found someone coming, they began to bow again. Master Tuanzang. I saw a strange man with a bandage slowly approaching. The village still needs a lot of manpower. You guys go help quickly. But 3 generations of adults. Are you still worried about me here? Yes. Upon hearing Tuanzang's command, the secret forces had no choice but to abandon their desire to fish and rush to the battlefield. And Tuanzang was looking at the battlefield of the 4 purple flame formation, at the black figure draped all over the place. His slightly narrowed eyes revealed a torch-like light. Those eyes at this moment, Orochimaru was feeling proud and suddenly, an extremely unpleasant feeling arose. What's going on? He found that his control over Xiao had become somewhat loose. Chapter 4. Shocked Orochimaru. Begging for flowers. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Orochimaru still maintained his confident and nauseating smile, but a few drops of bean-sized sweat still revealed his inner restlessness. Does your face look bad, Orochimaru? What's on your mind? The already weak third generation took advantage of this opportunity to launch a language attack on Orochimaru in order to give themselves some rest time. Orochimaru wiped the sweat off his forehead and smiled. Don't put these little tricks on the table, teacher. The careful thinking of the third generation was quickly easily seen through by Orochimaru, who continued to command the first generation, the second generation, to attack the third generation, and then let Uchiha hold a big one on the side. And Yuzhibo Xiao also lived up to expectations. He pressed the ground with one hand and shouted, "The art of spiritual communication." Seeing this, Orochimaru's eyes lit up. Everyone present was somewhat curious about what this once the first person in the ninja world spiritual beast was. Yuzhibo Xiao raised his head and showed a look of disdain in all directions. Come out. 9 tails. Orochimaru fell silent, and Tuanzang outside also had a strange expression, not knowing what he was thinking. Xiao Jun, I would like to remind you that Jiuwei has already been banned. However, Orochimaru had not finished speaking yet, and the next second, bang. Accompanied by a loud bang, a strange red light suddenly appeared from the telepathic array on the ground of Yuzhibo Xiao, and a wild chakra wanted to escape like a mad dog breaking through a cage. No, I don't know now. Even the practitioner of Orochimaru is sweating profusely. He knows that Uchiha Xiao is very strong, but he doesn't know that Uchiha Xiao is so strong that he can directly teleport to the 9 tails. If we really want 9 tails to come out, what else are we doing with the Konoha collapse plan? Just run away. On the other hand, the third generation resisted the attack while paying attention to what was happening on Yuzhibo Xiao's side. When he saw the trend of Yuzhibo Xiao about to release the 9 tails, he couldn't help but be shocked. He did not allow Yuzhibo Xiao to telepathize the 9 tails, and the scenes of the 9 tails invading 12 years ago were still in front of him. Si Dai, Jiu Shinai, Pipa Lake countless faces appeared before his eyes like fleeting observations. If there were another Nine Tails invasion, the great achievement of half a century for Mai would fall on his hands. He doesn't allow this kind of thing to happen. With this thought in mind, an inexplicable force erupted in the third generation. The third generation placed their hand on the chest of the first generation, and the teleportation technique appeared on the first generation's body. Bang! The next second, the figure of the first generation exploded, and a sturdy monkey wearing a tiger skin suit burst the first generation. The monkey demon had just been teleported and was not yet clear about the situation around him. He only heard the third generation shout out, "Rui Golden Hoop Stick." The ape demon also obediently transformed into a black and gold stick, and then the stick rolled a few times to reach the hands of the third generation. With a sudden movement of the third generation's mind, the stick in his hand grew several times larger, and then with lightning speed, it smashed towards the second generation Hokage on the side. With a single stick, the second generation also turned into a ball of flying catkins. The reason why the third generation resorted to such thunderous methods was to take advantage of the first and second generations condensing their bodies and quickly stop Yuzhibo Xiao from summoning the Nine Tails. On the other side, Orochimaru saw the frantic red chakra on the teleportation array and understood that if he didn't take action, his plan for the collapse of Konoha would be aborted. He imprinted his hands and wanted to further control Yuzhibo Xiao's body. However, the feedback brought by the technique shocked him once again. Lost control again. He realized that his control over Yuzhibo Xiao had further declined. Yuzhibo Xiao. This name has brought him too many surprises today. And far away from the battlefield, Naruto was chasing after Miero with his friends when suddenly there was a colic in his stomach that made him almost faint. Naruto. What's wrong? Sakura and Sasuke immediately surrounded. However, Naruto found it difficult to answer. His entire soul was dragged into the spiritual world, and he found himself once again in the familiar sewer. However, he found that today this place was different from before. The sewers used to be very peaceful, and the huge fox would be like a philosopher, either not opening its mouth, or tempting Naruto to open its seal. And now what Naruto saw shocked him greatly. The previously calm and domineering fox is now rolling in its cage, emitting mournful howls. A wild and violent aura erupted from Joei's body, and the red chakra dissipated everywhere as if he didn't want money. In the deafening and raging noise, Naruto vaguely recognized a few characters. Xiao. Ah. It's you again. Xiao. Chapter 5. Reconsider, I am Yuzhibo. You are listening at novelfull.audio. And at this moment, Yuzhibo Xiao, who was on the battlefield, was filled with doubts. Why is this stinky fox still unable to telepathize? It's been decades since it turned rebellious. It seems that it's still fighting too little. Listening to the murmurs in Yuzhibo Xiao's mouth, Orochimaru broke out in a cold sweat. Just as Yuzhibo Xiao was still puzzled, suddenly his gaze twitched and his figure disappeared in an instant. Whoosh! A black stick, like a missile, poked straight towards the place where Yuzhibo Xiao had just been. The stick hit the ground, and all the tiles on it shattered. As soon as Yuzhibo Xiao left, even if the teleportation technique was abolished, the red evil chakra disappeared instantly. Naruto in the distance also found that his stomach was no longer painful. He, who was full of nerves, didn't care so much and continued to pursue Miero. The stick was precisely inserted into the teleportation technique, and the powerful force even shattered the other side. Yuzhibo Xiao felt a bit unhappy when he saw his spell being interrupted. Just as he was about to step forward and teach the third generation this kid a lesson, he suddenly felt a very familiar feeling. He quickly looked out of the four purple flame formation and saw a man standing there covered in bandages. He felt a familiar feeling on that man. It's the feeling of Uchiha. Clan people. No, it's not. Yuzhibo Xiao suddenly turned his head to look at Tuanzang. He opened his blood-red eyes, and the 3 Goyu stones spun rapidly, then condensed together to form a complex geometric pattern. Tuanzang was startled by this sudden appearance. He intended to avoid his gaze, but Tuanzang actually realized that he couldn't avoid it. As if my time had been stolen. He was caught off guard by hallucinations, and didn't even have time to cast his Anaji. Quickly, Tuanzang fell into the illusion of Yuzhibo Xiao. At this moment, Orochimaru on the side looked warily at Yuzhibo Xiao, because he realized that he could no longer control Yuzhibo Xiao. No matter how he used magic to give orders, Yuzhibo Xiao would not listen. His hands were already ready for action, and whenever there was a mutation, he immediately sealed, lifted the filth, and reincarnated. At this moment, Orochimaru also noticed a person standing outside the 4 purple flame formation. Tuanzang. Why is he here? Orochimaru looked at Tanzo, and at that moment, Tanzo suddenly untied the bandage wrapped around his right eye, revealing a blood-red kaleidoscope. Don't be a god. What? Orochimaru finally showed a panicked expression. He hurriedly wanted to cover his eyes, but he realized that Tuanzang was not casting illusions on him, but on Uchiha shown next to him. Why? Tuanzang, this guy knows. During a brainstorming session, Orochimaru suddenly froze and looked incredulously at Uchiha show beside him. I saw Yuzhibo Xiao respond to him with a contemptuous smile. Let's get to know each other again. I'm Yuzhibo Xiao. With the last words spoken by Yuzhibo Xiao, Orochimaru realized that he had lost the last trace of control over Yuzhibo Xiao. Flowers, review tickets, tips, monthly tickets, and other data are very important to the author. If possible, I hope everyone can give some to this book. Thank you for your support. Thank you. Chapter 6. Terrifying oppression, truly worthy of being the most. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Orochimaru's face was also extremely ugly. Despite claiming to be smart, he was teased by Uchiha show. Looking back on my life, 2 times I suffered from exhaustion, both because of the Uchiha people. At this moment, Tuanzang also reacted and felt the almost blind eye on his right, his heart suddenly filled with indignation. This eye, but it's been stuck for a long time and useless. It's just to be able to use it at a critical moment, but I didn't expect it to be used at this moment to lift the shackles of the rebirth of the filthy soil. This is like shooting mosquitoes with cannons. He had the intention of seeking an explanation from Yuzhibo Xiao, but his current state could not stay here for too long. He had to give Yuzhibo Xiao a fierce glare and then leave in a state of despair. And Yuzhibo Xiao himself, he was too lazy to care about who had just been tricked. He closed his eyes and felt the gradual release of the shackles on his body. Okay, that's great. A wave of pressure spread over Yuzhibo Xiao, as if forming a substance. The debris on his feet was like being crushed by a heavy object, making a sound of breaking. Even the fearless Orochimaru couldn't help but take 2 steps back when he saw this scene. What a terrifying threat, truly the most dangerous ninja. Although he lost control of Yuzhibo Xiao, Orochimaru's heart did not feel much remorse, but instead became increasingly excited. The strength demonstrated by Yuzhibo Xiao today has made him increasingly eager to right will eyes. Sasuke, I won't make you wait too long. And in the distance, as the 3rd generation struggled with the 1st and 2nd generations, he also noticed something was wrong with Yuzhibo Xiao. He could feel that this Yuzhibo Xiao had become stronger. Orochimaru. You won't lose control of Lord Xiao, will you? Orochimaru did not answer, but he still looked at Yuzhibo Xiao with a fanatical gaze, as if admiring a beautiful piece of porcelain. At this moment, Yuzhibo Xiao strode forward a few steps, and he sounded like a bell, announcing that he had regained his freedom. The so-called forbidden technique in Fei Jian is just that. Upon hearing Yuzhibo Xiao's words, Sandai's heart also fell into a low valley. He would rather die himself than have Yuzhibo Xiao, such a god of killing, appear in the realm of ninja, especially in Muyi. Orochimaru. This is the consequence of you abusing forbidden techniques and playing with the deceased. Are you satisfied now? Sandai shouted to Orochimaru from afar. Since it's an experiment, there will be failures. I don't regret it, teacher, said Orochimaru, looking at the third generation with a confident expression that has persisted for decades. As he spoke, he turned his head to look at Yuzhibo Xiao, with a hint of madness in his eyes. Congratulations to Lord Xiao of Yuzhibo for obtaining his freedom. What are Lord Xiao's plans? Do you want to work with me to destroy Konoha? Yuzhibo Xiao was also somewhat speechless by Orochimaru's thick skin, and he had no interest in Orochimaru's proposal. Collaboration. Yuzhibo Xiao couldn't help but chuckle a few times as he looked at Orochimaru's confident expression. Young man, why do you think you are qualified to discuss cooperation with me? So arrogant. So arrogant. But Orochimaru was not angry. He knew that this was Uchiha's personality. And when the three generations in the distance saw that Yuzhibo Xiao had really lost control, he immediately shouted to Yuzhibo Xiao from afar. Lord Xiao, this is the battle of our younger generation. I hope you won't interfere. However, before three generations could finish speaking, the figure of Yuzhibo Xiao suddenly disappeared. The next breath, his figure appeared directly in front of Sandai, with a sudden fist pointing directly at his face. Feeling the strong fist style, the third generation firmly believes that this fist is no less powerful than the unique monster power of the thousand-handed clan. Chapter 7. Kaleidoscope Writing Will I Secret Technique. Suzhua Neng. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. As an experienced ninja, Sandai had long been prepared for Uchiha's sudden surprise attack, and he had already let the ape demon wait on the side for a long time. Sure enough, Yuzhibo punched Xiao, and the monkey demon instantly flew up to act as a protective shield, catching the punch. Bang! With a loud bang, the third generation flew backwards, but with the defense of the ape demon, he himself was not injured. Just as the third generation was about to fall to the ground, the golden hoop suddenly stretched out and lifted it up on the ground. The third generation relied on their strength to fight, and with the support of their sticks, they flew into mid-air. The Rui golden hoop in their hands also transformed into a huge shape, the size of a palace stone pillar. This stick should not be underestimated. With such a blow, if it weren't for the immortal body after the rebirth of the filthy earth, Yuzhibo Xiao wouldn't dare to resist. And in mid-air, the third generation also came up with a strategy. After the Rui golden hoop stick shattered the body of Yuzhibo Xiao, while his body had not yet begun to solidify, they could use the ghost seal to seal it completely and never suffer again. However, after 3 generations of calculations, it was unexpected that Yuzhibo Xiao did not want to use his own body to resist this move. Even if there was no loss in resisting hard, Yuzhibo Xiao did not follow the routine and a strange red light appeared in his eyes. Kaleidoscope Writing Will I Secret Technique. Susanoo. Bang! A huge red arm skeleton suddenly appeared, followed by the body skeleton, skull, and a completely red glowing skeleton. This is. Watching this scene, the dusty memories in the hearts of 3 generations began to open. Suzonenghu, he hasn't seen this secret technique for decades. The third generation recalled that the last time he saw such a giant was during the great battle between the first generation and Banu outside the village. The shocking and ghostly battle was a profound memory for countless elderly people like Kiba. The figure of the man named Susa is also deeply imprinted in the memories of 3 generations. Bang! The golden cudgel slammed fiercely onto the crimson skeleton, causing the surrounding space to twist a bit, and a strong wind pressure burst out from it. It can be imagined how great the impact of this blow is. However, the blood-red skeleton shook violently a few times, and then there was no response. Is it ineffective? The third generation had a very unpleasant expression on their face. Just now, this blow was a full-force blow from the monkey demon. If this doesn't leave any marks on Yuzhibo Xiao's Susanangu, it will be even more difficult to subdue Yuzhibo Xiao. And at this moment, the many ninjas fighting in the village couldn't help but be attracted by Susanoo at the center of the battlefield. The sudden appearance of the blood-red 100-meter giant, not to mention the people of Muyi, even Xiao, who was an aggressor, many people couldn't help but let go of their suffering. Without him, it's really outrageous. Why did you just start driving the Gundam when everyone was doing well despite their hard work? What the hell is this? The Konoha ninjas, who had just finished the battle, looked at the eerie red giant and raised questions one after another. It's really too eerie, they've never heard of this kind of technique before. It's Suzunen. A voice shattered the irrational exclamation of those around them. Everyone looked over and saw that it was the elite of the village, Shinran, Chimu Kakashi. This is a type of ninjutsu that can only be used when the Sharingan reaches a certain level. Its power is infinite and it is called divine power. Writing will eyes. But not all of the Uchiha clan. Kakashi said cautiously, whoever it is, I only know that if Susanoo continues to appear in the village, then Lord Hokage will be in danger. Kai, you come with me. Quickly clean up the battlefield for the rest, and come back to support us after cleaning up. Kakashi is an elite ninja who naturally has the right to give orders to the other ninjas present. Upon hearing the orders, the ninjas immediately disperse. Kakashi, on the other hand, led Might Kai towards the direction of Susanoo. Kai, this time, I'm afraid we need you. At this moment, Kakashi also realized that Kai had already unloaded his load. He showed the expression of the sign and thumbed up, saying, Leave it to me. Chapter 8. Is this not enough? Huoying is really a. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Who? 3 generations lay on a pile of rubble, everything around them already turned into ruins. He gasped for breath, imagining the brutality of the battle. Isn't that enough? Huoying is really not as good as each generation. Yuzhibo Xiao stood high and looked down at the disheveled third generation. Seeing that the third generation had no strength to recover, Yuzhibo Xiao, who had a slight sense of war, also lost interest. He put his hands on a seal and murmured. Then let me accelerate the progress of the battle. Suzwaninghu. Second form. Yuzhibo Xiao's eyes lit up with red light, and in the next second, it seemed that Susanoo, who had only a skeleton, had come back to life. On the basis of the skeleton, he was covered with meridians and flesh, the crimson chakra wrapped Susa like a coat, even increasing his height. Feeling the increasing power and pressure of Susa, Orochimaru couldn't help but swallow his saliva. At this moment, his desire for Sharingan was higher than ever before. However, Orochimaru was still rational. Seeing that Susa was becoming even stronger, he knew that if he didn't withdraw from the 4 purple flame formation, Susa's attack would likely affect him. He made a gesture, and when the 4 ninjas saw it, they all formed a seal together. The towering burning wall disappeared in an instant, and he himself was ready to run away. At this moment, Kakashi and Meki came to rescue him, and the 2 of them stood in front of the third generation, posing in front of Yuzhibo Xiao. Yuzhibo. Who is this? Might Kai perfectly matched his ignorant persona and looked at Yuzhibo Xiao, asking a question. And Kakashi clearly recognized Yuzhibo Xiao's identity, and his voice was very heavy as he said. Yuzhibo Xiao, known as the most dangerous ninja, actually has the power to even surpass the first generation of adults. At this moment, even the nervous Might Kai showed a surprised expression, but soon his expression changed to serious. Since that's the case, then we can't let him be too reckless. The 6th gate, Jingmen, open. A green energy burst forth with the sharp increase of chakra, and the skin became incredibly red. The third generation watched as Meki opened 6 doors and weakly said, Kai, act within your means. Whoosh! A gust of wind erupted, and Kai's figure suddenly disappeared. At this moment, Yuzhibo's mind moved and he felt a force rushing towards him. Feeling the tremendous speed, he sneered. Coincidentally, he also wanted to try how much defense there was left for his 1.5 strength, Suso. Bang! This is a very strong punch, but my beard is unscathed. Yuzhibo Xiao remained motionless, he wanted to see if this enemy could break through his defense. Soon, the enemy began his rainstorm attack. Facing the peacock. Metki's fists quickly attacked, causing intense friction in the air and even generating flames. Countless fists, wrapped in flames, all hit Susa's body. As time passed, Yuzhibo Xiao found that his Susa seemed to have decent defense. Despite such intensive attacks, they remained motionless and unscathed. Kai waved his fist and was also shocked in his heart. What kind of defense is this? Before Kai could do anything, Yuzhibo Xiao spoke. That's it, now it's my turn. Bang! Carrying his fist, Susa inexplicably raised a long sword and slammed it down fiercely. In an instant, what was originally a battle on the roof, now with a sword from Yuzhibo Xiao, the entire building was flattened. Countless broken tiles and dust scattered all around, and Kai's figure disappeared once again. At this moment, remnants appeared faintly, occasionally punching Suzhou with full force and speed, but unfortunately did not cause any damage to him. To outsiders, Kai's speed may seem like a shadow, but in the eyes of Yuzhibo Xiao's riding wheel, Kai's trail is clearly visible. Chapter 9. Did I let you go? Begging for flowers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Not bad speed, but no matter how excellent the speed is, it cannot escape Yuzhibo's eyes. Speaking, Susa quickly transformed into the third form, and the long sword in his hand also transformed into an exclusive weapon called Ghost Cut. The sword energy transformed by the slash galloped forward. With this strike, Metki was able to dodge, but he only managed to dodge a fatal blow, and the remaining sword energy still scraped through Kai's body. A blood line surged in mid-air, and Kai covered the huge wound on his stomach, retreating in succession. He was very frightened in his heart, and if he slowed down a bit, he would have turned into the soul of Yuzhibo Xiao's sword. It seems that opening only 6 doors is far from enough. Kai covered his wound and pondered on what to do next. On the other hand, Yuzhibo Xiao, although he dealt a heavy blow to his opponent with one sword, did not feel much joy in his heart because he knew that if it was his heyday, the just sword could directly kill the enemy. But now, the rebirth of the filthy earth has only awakened 1/5 of his strength, which makes him very unhappy to fight. The shackles that block his strength still exist. At this moment, a thought flashed through his mind. Tail Beast. Yes, if there were tailed beasts to assist, my battles wouldn't be so difficult. And coincidentally, I also sensed the aura of one tail nearby. Although I don't know where the most 9 tails of chakra are still, being able to grab one can also make do with it. Just do it if you think. Looking at the smoke in front of him, Yuzhibo Xiao suddenly felt bored and his hands quickly formed prints. Earth Escape. Earth Separation Technique. As the seal was completed, several stones suddenly protruded from the ground, and these stones also transformed into the appearance of Yuzhibo Xiao. Earth Clone Technique, each one can inherit 1/10 of the caster's strength, and now 3 clones have been created, which is enough for the people like Mu Yi to drink a pot. Just as Yuzhibo Xiao was preparing to hunt the tail beast, he discovered the big snake pill that was about to steal. Seeing the fierce battle, Orochimaru also knew that it would be even more troublesome if he didn't leave and wait for Kiba's army to arrive. Just as he was about to escape, a voice reached his ears. Did I let you go? Yuzhibo Xiao glared at Orochimaru. The next second, Susa raised his long sword and struck Orochimaru fiercely with a crimson blow. The power of this slash was just right, but Orochimaru saw it, and he didn't think he could resist this sword hard. The art of spiritual communication. Triple Rashomon. Boom. 3 huge iron doors rose from the ground, adorned with the appearance of evil spirits, making this door full of evil energy. However, this was not of much use. Just in an instant, 3 huge doors were blasted to ashes by Susanoo. Hee. Terrifying power. A drop of cold sweat flowed out of Orochimaru's forehead, and his hand's imprint suddenly slammed towards the ground. Bang! As white smoke rose, a purple python suddenly appeared. Big Snake Maru. After appearing, one snake was slightly stunned for a moment, and then it saw Susanoo, the huge warrior sword approaching infinitely, with a hint of fear in its eyes. "Does she Maru, this is?" She let out a sharp roar, but her words were not yet finished. Orochimaru suddenly penetrated into the mouth of Wanshi, without giving her a chance to question or time for her to understand the current situation. Rumble, Susanoo's huge samurai sword struck the bodies of countless snakes like small mountains. "You guy, damn it! Orochimaru!" The mountain-like body of the 10,000 snake gradually disintegrated, and the angry roar echoed throughout the room. A powerful sword slashed straight at the body of one snake, seemingly with the blessing of flames. The intense heat quickly dried and burned the skin of one snake. Bang! In the next second, a shocking explosion appeared on one snake, and in an instant, its flesh and blood splattered all over the surrounding battlefield. The fly has finally solved. Looking around, Yuzhibo Xiao didn't think that Orochimaru could still live in this situation. Seeing that the 3rd generation of them were being dragged by their own clones and no one around to disturb them, it was a good time to go hunting tail beasts. At this moment, a strange movement came from the broken pile of rubble. Yuzhibo Xiao fixed his gaze and saw a pale arm struggling out of the broken tile. Then, the pale man with a wicked smile appeared again. Hee. "See you again, Yuzhibo Xiao." Looking at the disheveled Orochimaru, Yuzhibo Xiao couldn't help but say, "Perhaps it would be more appropriate for me to call you a cockroach." Chapter 10. Is Orochimaru dead? Begging for flowers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The saying goes, if you don't completely kill cockroaches, you will often see them in your future life. So, although cockroaches do not pose a threat, cockroaches, as this kind of creature, must be invisible for the sake of cleanliness. Yuzhibo Xiao's decision at this moment is not to rush to hunt the tail beast for the time being, but to completely kill the cockroach, Orochimaru, the 4th form. The chakra inside Yuzhibo Xiao's body quickly moved, and soon, Susanoo's body was further elevated, creating a lower body and legs based on the original 2nd form. At the same time, the volume also increased significantly, and Yuzhibo Xiao stood at the head of Susanoo. At the same time, the wide-ranging skill, Susanoo's sword, was also awakened at this moment. The 3 generations in the distance looked at the slightly taller Susanoo, and their hearts were filled with infinite confusion. "Yuzhibo Xiao, what kind of existence are you?" At this moment, it seemed that Orochimaru was about to unleash a dying blow when he suddenly opened his mouth and a creature with a human head and a snake body emerged from inside. The next second, the creature suddenly increased in size and then transformed into a huge white snake. This was not over, but with a violent shake from the snake's body, 7 heads slowly split out. Finally, it turned into a huge 8-pointed snake. Watching this scene, even Yuzhibo Xiao, who was indifferent to the world, couldn't help but feel a chill. What a disgusting technique. The body of the 8-legged snake is very large, with a tail-like degree. Yuzhibo Xiao was also completely unafraid in the face of this scene. He joked, which tail beast that lousy hunted at that time was not stronger than this 8-pointed snake. Without saying a word, Yuzhibo Xiao began his attack. His hands quickly stamped, and a hurricane emerged from his mouth. Wind escape. Great breakthrough. Then, another blazing flame seamlessly joined from the mouth. Fire escape. Extinguish the great fire. The wind takes advantage of the fire, and the fire assists the wind in its power. The combination of one fire and one wind of ninjutsu unleashed a powerful force. The blazing tongue with its teeth and claws quickly curled up on the body of the eight-pointed snake, and due to the burning pain, the snake quickly twisted. The spiritual activity of Susa in the fourth form has greatly improved. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yuzhibo Xiao controlled Susa to stride forward, lifting a snake head with one hand. Ah! Ghost cut erupted with a crimson glow, chopping a snake head to the ground. The huge snake head fell to the ground, stirring up a cloud of dust. The eight-branched snake was in pain, and its body shook and twisted wildly. Several snake heads also wanted to counterattack, opening their blood plates and biting toward Susa. However, this form of Suswa had already worn the armor of the Huoying, and a few bites did not pose any threat. Controlling Suso, the ghost cut a few swords and the eight-chi snake quickly became scarred. Seeing that the fight was almost over, Yuzhibo Xiao continued to seal, while at the same time, even the one he controlled, Suso, also followed suit. The art of spiritual communication. Flame Pillar God. In an instant, a huge tongue of fire emerged from the ground, directly enveloping the massive eight-pointed snake. The blazing flames burned the eight-pointed serpent, and the crackling sound of the flames could not be heard. The three generations who were still in battle were shivering with fear. Yuzhibo looked at the burning snake for a moment with indifference, and then turned to hunt the tail beast. At this moment, a voice came from the burning snake. Xiao. I will. Come back again. Yuzhibo looked at Huotuan in surprise and immediately activated his perception ninjutsu. However, he did not find any trace of Orochimaru again. Is it the dying language before death? Yuzhibo Xiao didn't pay much attention to this. For him, killing a big snake pill was similar to killing an ordinary ninja. Even if he were to be resurrected, it would just be cutting two more swords. On the other hand, 3 generations of people are still fighting against their clones. Aren't Orochimaru dead? The rebirth of the filth hasn't been lifted yet. Kakashi looked at the first and second generations still in battle and couldn't help but wonder. No, Orochimaru is probably dead. The death of the caster does not make the filthy earth reincarnate and disappear. Sandai explained on the side. At this moment, the second generation suddenly erupted, attracting everyone's attention. The second generation suddenly took action, his hands imprinted, and a ball of water ball gathered in mid-air. Water escape. The art of water bullet. Not good. The shape of the water ball changes, gradually forming the appearance of a water faucet. The expressions of the third generation and others are solemn, while the second generation's water escape is famous worldwide. With such a large amount of water, if one accidentally moves, their internal organs can easily be crushed. Earth escape. Earth flow wall. Third generation and Kakashi combined chakra to perform a joint earth escape. Bang! A thick earthen wall rose from the ground. Looking at the earthen wall, the third generation and others felt a sense of security, but seeing the towering water force exerted on the second generation, the few still felt a bit scared inside. The third generation is secretly blaming themselves for using the chakra too quickly, otherwise the defense of the earthen wall could have been even higher. Quickly, the faucet began to attack, charging down with an unstoppable momentum. Just as the third generation and others were on high alert, a strange scene occurred. I saw a sudden turn in the direction of the faucet, and it hit Yuzhibo Zhao's clone directly. The clone seemed to have not anticipated this situation and was unprepared to be hit by the faucet. The clone turned back into a clump of mud under the impact of the water tap. What? Seeing this scene, the third generation and others were all shocked. At this moment, the third generation noticed that the second generation's gaze seemed to have regained clarity. Just as the third generation wanted to ask something, a gust of fast wind appeared in his ear. I was careless. It was another clone of Yuzhibo Xiao who punched me. After a long battle, the third generation is also physically and mentally exhausted, and their fighting consciousness seems to have become dull. They have no premonition of the arrival of this punch. At this moment, a mutation occurred again, and a voice appeared next to it. Mu done. The art of the wooden dragon. As soon as the words fell, a powerful wooden dragon suddenly appeared underground. This dragon directly tied up Yuzhibo Zhao's breakup, rolled it up with force, and its clone turned into a pile of gravel and fell to the ground. The third generation and others were very surprised. They didn't understand how the two Hokage's filth suddenly switched sides. Is it okay, monkey? The first generation hugged their chest and smiled at the third generation. It's okay, how did you break free from the control of filth? The third generation was surprised to see that the first generation could speak. It should be the reason for the young man's death. I feel like the soul imprisonment on me has disappeared. The first generation looked at the pile of charred white snake corpses and said. Although he felt surprised, he also breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. These two had just made him suffer a lot. At this moment, Sandai was slightly taken aback. The battle just now was continuous, and it was only when he had free time that he officially understood. Orochimaru, he was dead. A hint of sadness flashed through the eyes of the third generation, and then he shook his head and said. The top priority now is to solve Yuzhibo Xiao. We can't let him suffer for the disaster anymore. In fact, the third generation had already felt hopeless about the arrival of Yuzhibo Xiao, but now seeing the first and second generations also break free from control and fight alongside them, a glimmer of hope has arisen in his heart. I just felt the scent of the tail, and it seems that Xiao has also run towards that direction, Chudai said as he touched his chin. After thinking for a moment, Sandai felt that protecting Naruto was what needed to be done now. He immediately asked Kakashi, is it one tail? Kakashi, where is Naruto now? His safety is the top priority now. A cold sweat appeared on Kakashi's forehead and he said, well, cough. Naruto has been sent by me to pursue one tail. Third generation.